open mic. One, two, three, four.
All right, what's up, people? Welcome to The Sweat. He's
Hey.
Adam Kaufman. Hey, how are you?
Great.
I'm Emerson. Thank you.
Sure.
We're going to try to get
Just
you...
Emerson. It's like Oprah,
Jeez
Madonna.
Louise.
Just the one.
I'm just trying to get to the first line on the teleprompter, okay? All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. We're going to try to get you out of here as soon as possible. But first, what's on the menu?
Yeah, we have an hour to kill. I meant to say Phil. Doesn't matter. We're going to preview Week 2 action across the NFL. White Sox starter Lucas Giolito is going to stop by to play a silly game, and WFAN's Mike Francesa is here for another Francesa Friday.
Cool, man. Have you guys hung out yet?
In person?
Yeah.
Yeah, multiple times.
That's right. It's some of like the DK events, right?
Right, well, and like father-son, races and that sort of thing.
All right.
Okay, yeah.
But first, NFL High or Low at DK Live's Jeff Ulrich, Reed Fowler, and Roto World's Ian Harditz. Hey, everybody. How's everyone doing?
It's a long
One
breath.
day
Hey,
they have
what's
to
up?
stop pairing you guys together. Like, we need to get another host in the rotation here quickly. This is
Slate approved.
I love you too,
the wrong
man.
way.
There we go.
Only day 2, and it's just going really far downhill.
All right, guys, we're looking at spreads, totals, and other wonderful information provided to us by the DK Sportsbook. So, Jeffrey, since you are so kind, you are up first. Monday night, Jets will host the Browns. Gang Green's a 6.5-point dog with Sam Darnold out. It was 2.5 when he was expected to play. Is 6.5 too high or too low?
I still think it's a little bit too low. I will say this. I like this line a lot better when it was the Browns at 2.5 versus Sam Darnold. I just thought that was ridiculous. I don't really think that Trevor Siemian, going from Sam Darnold to Trevor Siemian is worth 4 points. So I'm not as big on the Browns at this number necessarily, but I'm still on the Browns. They do have other injuries, the Jets, to worry about besides Sam Darnold. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell's coming in a little bit banged up too, but I just feel like this is a secondary that Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham, and the rest of that crew is really going to be able to take advantage of. I feel like the Jets really blew that week 1. I don't feel like they did. They really blew that week 1 game. They've got kicker problems. Adam Gase looks like he's already ready to pack it in. So, I'll still take the Browns 6.5 here. I think it's a little too low. Okay,
Fowler, where do you sit on this, bud?
Yeah, same here. 6.5 is we haven't really seen anything from Cleveland that much right in the first week. So when you say 6.5, this is attempting to take the Jets, but Jeff's right. The Jets didn't really show anything, and Sam Darnold to Trevor Siemian, I don't really know. Even lost Quincy Enunwa, who was a favorite target, right? These guys are all banged up. We see Le'Veon Bell got a ton of work, but getting banged up with his shoulder. If you just look at Cleveland, a lot of question marks on how they're going to implement that offense. What I do think is going to happen is that defense is really going to pin their ears back, and they're going to get after Trevor Siemian. So if you want to potentially take an angle and see some of these running backs get some run, or these tight ends from the Jets take some run on the DFS angle, then do that. But 6.5, I think this is a little too high.
All right. Be the difference maker here, Ian.
Yeah, I got the Browns here at 6.5. I kind of remember Trevor Siemian being a little better than I think he was in reality. Went back and looked at some of the stats, and he should be anyone's definition of a below-average quarterback. So not going to argue that point. But the big thing that's really going to hurt this offense, I think, is, I know Jeff didn't have some kind words there for Sam Darnold, but at least Darnold can kind of move around and will take chances downfield. That is not what Simeon's going to do. He ranked 25th and 34th in passes thrown at least 20 yards downfield during his last 2 seasons as a starter. The Browns are going to be able to pack the line of scrimmage. It's going to make things even tougher for Crowder and Bell, who they want the offense to flow through. Give me the Browns.
Okay, guys, Niners are going to try for a perfect 2-0 start in Cincy. It's 45.5 projected point total. Is it too high or too low, Reed? What do you say?
I think it's a little too high. I think when you look at San Francisco and what happened with Tampa Bay the previous week, a lot of that was on the defensive side. San Francisco didn't really move the ball, right? Jimmy Garoppolo did not look good. Tevin Coleman got hurt. And then the question marks in the wide receiver core, yes, Dante Pettis is slated for a higher snap count, but how much is that going to affect this game? And when you look at Cincinnati, we like their offense and it's trending in the right direction. It's trending up in terms of how many plays they're going to run. They ran 51 passes, excuse me. And Zach Taylor looks like he's bringing a team that we thought initially that wasn't going to be that good, that they're actually going to be respectable. I still think this line is a little, or this over-under is too high. That front seven, even though Nick Bosa is questionable, is pretty strong with the 49ers, so too high.
Ian, you going high as well?
Yeah, I like Reed's last point about the Niners front seven. I mean, I don't think we anticipated just how good they could be to start this year. Not only Nick Bosa, they added Quan Alexander, they added D Ford. They dominated the Buccaneers last week up front. They deserve some credit for that. The Bengals also, I think people thought the Seahawks were going to walk all over them last week, and they got the win, but to only have 72 yards rushing and then 162 yards total passing. I mean, Bengals don't look like a train wreck on defense, and their offense looked pretty good too. So I got the under here. The one X factor to watch is pace. This is projected to be a third fastest matchup. Could have been a little fluky week 1 numbers there, but yeah, give me the under.
Jeff, be the difference maker here.
I'm gonna lean to the under too, although I really don't know what to make of these two teams quite yet. I mean, both of these guys brought up the San Francisco defense, and it's for good reason. Like, this is an underrated defense. They were coming on last year, and they made some big additions. So I agree with what Ian said about the Bengals. Like, this team is not as bad as I think most people thought they were going to be. I really like what Zach Taylor did with the offense in week 1. I just feel like the Bengals don't have A.J. Green. They don't have that big playmaker. They don't, maybe they connect with John Ross on like a couple long touchdowns and that pushes it to the over, but I really feel like this is probably going to be a 23-20 type of game, even if it's a little bit faster pace. I just don't think there's enough explosiveness on either side of the ball, especially with Jimmy Garoppolo not really 100% back from injuries, so I'll take the under.
Okay, well, let's go Chargers at the Lions. LA's favored by 2.5. Too high or too low? What do you say, Ian?
I got the Chargers here, and look, it's more just because of how bad I think this Lions offense is going to be in most weeks. I know, we saw them put up 27 points against the Cardinals, but we're going to see in the upcoming weeks just how bad this Cardinals defense is. Really doesn't even matter who is trying to move the ball against them. I mean, Carry-On, C.J. Anderson, both had just insane rates of running into stack boxes. When they're now facing Casey Hayward and Desmond King instead of those, undrafted journeymen. The Cardinals were trotting out a cornerback last week. It's going to be a problem. And look, not having Hunter Henry, not having Mike Williams, problematic for the Chargers offense. But at this point in his career, I mean, Rivers is more and more just, kind of okay to check it down to Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler. So I think they're going to find a way to put up points. I kind of like the under here as well because I just don't see the Lions doing much on offense.
Jeff, you like LA favored by 2.5?
I don't. I'm going the opposite of Ian. I actually kind of like the way the Lions defense played against Arizona last week. I mean, outside of just getting gassed in the fourth quarter, they showed up pretty good. I mean, they made a pretty big signing with Trey Flowers. And the thing that really worries me about the Chargers, the first thing is it's in a cross-country game, so it's an early cross-country game. The West Coast teams just really have trouble with these road games early across the country. And the Chargers are really banged up. I mean, on top of losing Hunter Henry, Mike Williams is questionable. Mike Davis, starting cornerback, is out, or questionable, doubtful, excuse me. Finally got the right
Make up your mind,
Jeff. They're banged
Jeff.
up is the point here. So they're coming in not full strength. I do think the Chargers are probably a better team, but I'm going to take the Lions here. I think this line is actually a little too low in favor of Detroit.
Okay, so everyone make sure you check the health status.
Jeff, where was Davis again?
It's gonna be a 7-on-7. That's everyone is doubtful and questionable, which is true. That's the Chargers' MO. No one stays healthy on the Chargers. No one stays healthy. But I'm with Ian here, obviously for reasons that I don't like Jeff's takes ever, and Ian is right in this spot. Jeff does make a good point though. Detroit's defensive line is really strong, probably one of the best in the league. And when you look at the Chargers, their offensive line is pretty banged up as well. It's pretty bad. So if you look at just what these guys do, the Chargers 7-1 in their last 8 road games against the spread, and the Lions 1-5 or 1-4 in their last 5 against the spread at home. So Darrell Bell, these guys are going to run the ball, but I still take the Chargers.
We are being told here, developing story, breaking news. Tom Glennon, our producer, telling us the line has moved to 1.5, guys. 1.5. LA favored by 1.5. Does that surprise anybody? Does that make anybody happy? Please raise your hand. Okay, thank you.
I mean, it should make the guys who want the Chargers happy, right?
I mean, it's look, both of these teams. I think the Chargers. I think it's a public team. We saw them. You saw Austin Eckler, right? We see all the news about the Chargers, and so I think when you look at that team, you look at that public team, a lot of people are going to be on them. A lot of people are going to be on them, and they want people to be on the Lions, and not a lot of people are, except for Jeff.
Cool.
Earlier this week, gentlemen, we talked about how the Chiefs and Raiders are totaling a whole boatload of points, 53.5. But Jeff, KC is 30.5. all by itself, even without Tyreek Hill. Of course, you do have that gigantic threat in Sammy Watkins there with Patrick Mahomes. Too high or too low?
I mean, without Tyreek Hill, I just never. I'd still take the over, honestly. Whenever you talk about the Chiefs, it's better to just take the over. We talked about this before, obviously, that the over hits 9 out of the last 10 times when they're on the road. But as far as team total goes, too, without Tyreek Hill, it's obviously a little bit of a worry here, but if you're asking me which side to go against the Raiders offense that just does not do well at stopping tight ends, they still don't really have a great run defense, in my opinion, even though they looked pretty good last week. I think that the Chiefs will probably go over here. It's not as something that's in the bag on the road without Tyreek Hill, but again, leaning towards one way or the other, I'm going to go the over with the Chiefs.
I was asking you, Jeff. It's the singular point of this segment. Reed.
Yeah, no, I just, you makes good points. And
it takes them a while to get there.
You look at Kansas City, the last 5 meetings head-to-head, this is right around their average. It's around 30 points. And so, yeah, I mean, if you're going to be optimistic about the Chiefs, even without Tyreek Hill, that offense has 2 or 3 deep in terms of their offensive skill players like Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, and all these guys that can outperform a lot of teams, that can just outspeed a lot of teams, and it really comes down to if Oakland can hold up their side of the bargain in terms of the overall number, and I like the overall numbers, so yeah, I like the Chiefs here.
Ian?
Yeah, I like that over 30.5 points. It's insane how often the Chiefs just put up points in this short-lived Patrick Mahomes era we've had so far. 15 of 20 games with Mahomes under center, they've scored at least 30 points, so obviously losing the league's premier field stretcher isn't great. Their left tackle, Eric Fisher, had a groin injury today in practice. He's now questionable, but again, they're facing the Raiders, and I think even if they did look pretty good on defense and better than I thought they'd look against the Broncos, I'm not going to take too much away from a home date against Joe Flacco and those guys. So Mecole Hardman, DeAnthony Thomas, still plenty of speed on that field. The guys mentioned Sammy Watkins, how good he looked week 1. I think the Chiefs easily cleared 30 points.
Ian, great job multitasking, watching you tweet as you do this show. You are fantastic. Reminding everyone, Trevor Siemian wants to decline a Pro Bowl invite.
Facts only.
You got it. You got it, my man. Great work, though, for now, guys. We'll even let you come back later in the program. How about that?
Cool.
But in the meantime, we got Jesse chatting with White Sox hurler Lucas Giolito. They had way too much fun playing one of our newest games. I have no idea which one it is. Let's find out.
Now we're going to play a game with you called You Look Familiar, where we mash up the face of 2 MLB players, and you have to figure out who the players are. It's kind of wild. You ready?
Yeah, this is extremely difficult.
Yup.
I'm seeing Manny Machado.
Yes.
And the Astros player Brantley.
Correa, Close.
Correa, okay.
Close.
Okay, all right.
And let's go and see our next face.
Okay, Altuve.
Mm-hmm. The other guy, star third baseman for the Rockies.
Oh, Arenado.
There
okay.
you go.
Go.
Okay. This is our third and final mashup.
All right, that's got to be Clevenger's hair.
Yep.
Kershaw?
Yes.
Okay, nice. There we
Okay,
go.
you did pretty well.
Hey, what's up? I'm Adam Kaufman alongside Steve Buchanan, Reed Fowler, both the DK Live fame. It's true, they are famous. We're looking ahead to Sunday night showdown between the Eagles and Falcons, presented by KFC. So, Bukes, let's start with you. Instead of chickens, We're talking birds, obviously. We need someone for your captain's spot, your colonel's pick. Who you got?
Yeah, it's going to be Calvin Ridley here. He's going to draw a lot of coverage from Rasul Douglas, who had a really rough week one. He was targeted against 5 times, allowed 4 receptions for 85 yards and 2 touchdowns. We know the Falcons like using Ridley in the red zone, drew 2 red zone targets in week 1, so I think he makes a lot of sense for this spot.
Reed, your colonel?
Yeah, Julio Jones. He converted on one of those red zone targets, but was held under 50 yards. And what you want to do is actually attack this secondary in Philadelphia. After games of being held under 50 yards, Julio Jones, since 2015, has gone 6 times over 100 yards. One of those games, 300 yards. So give me Julio.
All right, we'll stay with you. We need a side for your colonel, a nice, something for your flock.
Austin Hooper, the tight end with the Falcons, so we're sticking with Atlanta here. Saw a really productive game week 1. And if you look at what Vernon Davis did to this team in week 1, Austin Hooper is in a good spot, so give me him.
Dukes?
Yeah, so we're going to stick with the Falcons here with Matt Ryan. This is somebody who is going against a defense that allowed the second most passing yards to opposing quarterbacks last season, averaging over 288 per game. And while it didn't really look like it, Ryan had a pretty good game in week 1. Still passed for over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns thrown, so should be able to get it done here against this defense.
No Eagles, huh?
No.
Eagles.
Sorry, Philly.
A lot of respect for the Atlanta Falcons. This is going to do it for this week's look at KFC's Sunday night series between the Eagles and Falcons in Hotlanta.
Are you trying to add some zeros to your DK account balance for free? It's easy when you enter the Pepsi Zero Sugar Live Prediction Challenge on DraftKings. All you have to do is make predictions about what will happen each football Sunday of the regular season. Simply zero in on the right answer to 8 questions each week, and you'll climb the leaderboard, giving you a shot at $5,000 in weekly prizes split amongst those who get all the questions correct. You can even win a trip to the big game if you finish at the top of the season-long leaderboard. Just answer our pop quiz questions like, how many touchdowns will the Dallas quarterback throw in the first half? We'll give you 3 multiple-choice answers to choose from. Make the right call, and you'll get 1 point. Plus, be sure to look out for the Pepsi Zero Sugar question of the week. This is an extra sweet question that's worth double the points when answered correctly. So don't let your Sundays go flat. Get in the game with the free Pepsi Zero Sugar Live Prediction Challenge, exclusively on DraftKings.
All right, we're back with more baseball. DK Live, Steve Buchanan and Greg Ehrenberg, both in the house. Well, a house anyway. This is MLB Chaser Fade. 13-game slate tonight. Bukes, it's Friday the 13th. I'm sure things won't get weird at all. Let's stick with that theme. There are 8 guys on the schedule who wear number 13. 3 of them will cost you at least $4K. Manny Machado, Ronald Acuna Jr., and Asdrubal Cabrera as well. So Chaser Fade, Machado is worth paying up for to nearly $5,000 on this very special day.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Machado at all. And really just Coors Field as a whole. I don't think there's really a lot of value there tonight. I do like Asdrubal Cabrera, though, with that price range. Since joining the Nationals, he has a .419 WAR, 262 isolated power through 96 plate appearances. And we've seen Mike Soroka really struggle as of late. He's been giving up a ton of hard contact, 51% in 2 starts in September, 41 during the month of August. So I think actually the Nationals are pretty sneaky play overall on this big slate against Soroka, who, on paper looks like he has some great numbers overall, but as of late, he's definitely been slipping.
Greg, I know you're a fan of Bukes, but how do you feel about Manny Machado?
Yeah, I like Manny Machado. I like this Coors game. I'm a little confused by what Steve's angle is about not liking the Coors Field game, and I guess we're going to have to talk about that a little bit more. But we look at Machado's production at Coors Field so far this year. The last 4 games he played there, which was a full series, he hit 3 homers. He averaged 22.25 DK fantasy points per game. So I just don't know what there is not to like. Like, if you're comparing him to the other guys here, he's just in such a better hitting environment than anybody else. And Jeff Hoffman's been awful this season, so it's a really strong matchup.
Yes, we will be talking about that game here in 2 questions from now. But before that,
brace yourself.
Yes, please do. Riveting stuff. You've got a couple options, though, on the slate for players who have hit 13 dingers this season, including Daniel Murphy, Kevin Biggio, Robbie Cano, Alex Gordon. So Chaser Fade, you can get good value from at least one of these guys. Gregory.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the Coors Field game. Daniel Murphy, he's playing at Coors Field, obviously. And the other thing to consider also is I think he's a little bit priced down because he's facing a left-handed pitcher. But he's been much better against lefties than he's been against righties this year. He's a 122 WRC plus against lefties compared to a 75 WRC plus against righties. So this isn't really a concern for me that he's going up against a left-handed pitcher in Joey Lucchesi, who's also struggled pitching away from home. He has an ERA north of 5 away from San Diego.
All right, so my guess is you're not going in that same direction, Steve.
I mean, leave it to Greg to be so bland on a Friday night. Like, oh, let's go with Coors Field.
Wow. Greg, defend yourself.
It's a good impression.
The weekend is coming.
He's not going to give me a chance. Not going to give me a chance.
We're going to talk about Biggio in this spot here. Look, Masahiro Tanaka has just been absolutely horrendous. To lefties, quiet down, especially to lefties. 396 over 5.54 xFIP. And 9 of his 26 home runs allowed. So I think Biggio is in a pretty good spot here. I like the Blue Jays overall to hit the over on their team total of 3.5 against Tanaka. Like I said, he struggles so much on the road here. So Biggio in a good spot in the order, I think can bring some good value.
Poor Greg in that just acceptance. I'm not going to give me a chance.
You guys will be able to debate this one, though.
Steve would rather be controversial than be correct. Like, I'll just give out the right answers.
Okay,
I think
that's a fair take, and I think people respect you for that.
We've been talking a lot about brands lately. That might be Bukes.
100%.
Moving on here?
Yeah,
right.
we're moving on.
Good, let's do that. Rockies and Padres, game total of 12.5 tonight. It's not quite 13, but when you round up, still counts. Chase or fade these clubs, stick to the spirit of this day, go over with at least 13 combined runs. Greg, I'm going to give you a chance. You start.
Yeah, so I'm going to chase this here. I already know that Steve's going the opposite way because he just said he doesn't like Coors Field. But we look at Jeff Hoffman, 7.06 ERA this season. He's been even worse at home, ERA 7.33 at home. You look at Joey Lucchesi, like I said before, he's been good in San Diego this year. But you take him outside of San Diego, and he has a 5.43 ERA on the road. Now you're not only taking him out of San Diego, you're putting him in Coors Field, the most hitter-friendly environment in the entire league. He has to go up against Nolan Arenado, Trevor Story, who both crush left-handed pitching. There's going to be a lot of runs scored in this game. 13 is a really high number, but I'm going to go with the over just because it's going to upset Steve a little bit.
I don't even want to call on him. I just figure he'll go.
Okay, so here's what we're going to talk about. Just because you're in Coors Field doesn't mean bad offenses suddenly become good offenses, and that's exactly what we have in this scenario. The Padres, during the month of September, are 23rd in the league, have scored only 40 runs. You know who's dead last in runs scored this month? It is the Rockies. They've only scored 28 runs in the month of September. Like, we've seen this happen before. The Marlins went to Coors Field this season. Did they score a boatload of runs? No, they didn't. Because you know why? Because they're not a good...
And because Jeff Hoffman wasn't pitching.
I keep feeling like
Jeff Hoffman wasn't pitching. John Gray was pitching, and we liked John Gray that night. We were on the show together. John Gray's a good pitcher. You know who's not a good pitcher? Jeff Hoffman.
I'm just looking at the game, the show breakdown here. I didn't know this was Greg's segment. I thought it was Greg and I. Okay, so let me finish here. So they averaged just over 3 runs when they went to Coors Field here. I get it that Hoffman has been bad. We'll talk about Hoffman in a little bit here, but these are 2 really bad offenses that are both struggling. I don't care if it's at Coors Field. It's going to go under.
Anything else, guys? Greg? You want to just defend your honor or something?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk more about Jeff Hoffman later. I just don't understand what it is that Steve likes about him tonight. I know that he likes him a lot. It's Jeff Hoffman is Steve's favorite play on the entire slate. He's going to be all in on Jeff Hoffman. It just doesn't make any sense to me. He's literally had 1 game of over 10 fantasy points at home the entire season. He's averaging 6 fantasy points at home the entire season. So I understand the Padres don't have the best offense, but Jeff Hoffman can't get anybody out in any situation.
And that's why in the industry we call that a tease.
Yes. We have put up your Bukes coming up. Thank you for that, Greg.
I'm afraid for that.
Lots more on the way, though. Mike Francesa, NASCAR, other cool things, and this.
Hello there, I'm Brendan Glasheen, and with this DraftKings Fantasy Flash, weekend's here. Enjoy it, really, but can't help but look ahead to Monday Night Football. Browns at the Jets feels more and more like must-watch television. Right, Odell? You got him, Baker Mayfield. Key players are injured or have mono, all sorts of stuff going on. And speaking of OBJ, he's got something to say about Jets defensive coordinator and former Browns interim head coach Greg Williams. If I was a coach, I would never teach what he teaches, but that's just him and what he does. Beckham thinks Williams teaches players to take cheap shots or apply dirty hits. The star wideout referenced how he was injured, and he injured his ankle back in 2017 in a Giants preseason game against a Williams-led Browns defense. OBJ said he came back from the injury way too soon. All right, Odell, it's time to put the past behind you. Check your watch. time is now. Browns better get this game because the Jets are without Sam Darnold, Le'Veon Bell was banged up, and New York's core pieces on defense also injured. It's great for us. Cleveland doesn't play till Monday because it gives them plenty of time to keep on talking. Turns out the Jets have nothing to lose given their personnel situation. The Browns, however, do.
College football is back, and now you can be part of the games every Saturday thanks to DraftKings and Coors Light. Introducing the DraftKings College Football Pick'em presented by Coors Light. It's an all-new contest that puts you in the middle of the action in the race for the College Football National Championship, giving you a shot at your share of up to $70,000 cash. Oh, it's totally free to enter. Each week throughout the regular season, you will choose the winners in 15 featured college football games. No odds, no point spread, just pick the winner and start racking up points. Each correct pick earns you 50 points. Speaking of points, you can get more of them by nailing your picks for 5 of the nation's top games. These marquee matchups will be featured as ice-cold games. Get those right, you will earn 100 points. Plus, the more ice-cold games you pick correctly, the chiller your cold meter gets, which adds even more bonus points to your score. Get 1 to 2 ice-cold picks correct, earn an extra 100 points. Get 3 to 4 ice-cold picks correct, earn an extra 200 points. Get all 5 ice-cold picks correct, earn an extra 300 points. So get in on the DraftKings College Football Pick'em presented by Coors Light. Put your college football prowess to the test and earn yourself some cold, hard cash.
Welcome to Price Check. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Let's look at the size for Las Vegas. Whose salary jumped up this week? Bubba Waltz, $6,100 to $6,600. He finished third because he had a third place race car. Equipment matters. You can't win at Zelda if you got a wooden sword and a green suit. William Byron, $7,800 up to $8,300. He was chalky last week because of starting position. His price in the low 8s, it makes sense based on performance. Alex Bowman, $7,600 up to $8,000. The fall marks the return of intermediate tracks, short tracks, and the PSL. The summer season is filled with an assortment of tracks where Bowman struggled, and he probably missed the PSL. It's delicious. Whose salary dropped this week? Eric Almirola, $8,700 down to $7,800. His price is erratic for a driver that does the same thing every week. And that's all I want to say about that. Kyle Busch, $12,000 down to $11,500. He has 0 intermediate track wins this year. That's a high price for 0 wins. He has to win to be optimal, and even if he wins, he might not be optimal. Everybody calm down. I don't want to calm down. Kyle Larson, $10,300 down to $10,000. He also has 0 intermediate track wins, and 0 short track wins, and 0 road course wins, and 0 plate wins. Imagine if the NBA got rid of the three-pointer, what would happen to Steph Curry? That's what NASCAR did to Kyle Larson with this racing package. Favorite play of the week, Brad Keselowski, $9,500. He almost won the spring Las Vegas race, and then he did win a month later at a comparable track in Kansas. Kurt Busch, $9,300. He always goes overlooked, and this is his hometown track. Viva Las Vegas! That is Spanish for paper towel gambling. All right, guys, check out the DK playbook for your DFS information. And if you've got NASCAR questions, hit me up on Twitter at Race for the Prize. I'm Pierce Dietrich. Catch me on DK Live.
Okay, second to last time, you will see these 3 on your device. Yes, we are
right on
almost there, people. It's our NFL panel. Jeff on the left, Reed in the middle, and Ian on the right. Yeah, that's tight. It's Friday night.
Oh, wow, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I know. It's not bad, right? And I'm sober.
Can you do any more?
Not right now.
Okay. All right, looking ahead to some of the prop bets you can make for this weekend slate, and sticking with our Friday the 13th theme because it will not go away. You can get Delaney Walker or Jimmy G at plus 1,300 to score at least 2 touchdowns this week. You like either of those options, Jeff?
I definitely don't like Jimmy Graham. I mean, you look at the Packers, whenever you have a dominant number 1 receiver like Devontae Adams on a team, taking a secondary guy to score 2 touchdowns seems a little far-fetched, especially Jimmy Graham, which is basically like the old version of Jimmy Graham. Delaney Walker's a little bit interesting. I could actually kind of get behind that. The Colts allowed the most receptions to the tight end position last year. Again, there's no dominant receiver there on the Tennessee Titans, and whenever Mariota throws to a wide receiver, it just feels like a Hail Mary anyways. So I could actually see this for Delaney Walker. He looks healthy. Obviously scored last week. Plus 1,300, sure, why not? I like it.
Reed, how about you? Which way are you leaning?
Yeah, sure, why not? I like that. I like that. Well, I mean,
Jeff's declarative takes.
Yeah, we could have done the receivers at 13, like number 13 with like OBJ and Mike Thomas and those guys. But I think this is an interesting one. I'm happy that Jeff got the right Jimmy G this segment. He's not going to do it. He's done it 3 times in the last 3 years where he had multiple touchdown games. And Delaney Walker, same thing. Since 2015, he's only done about 2 or 3 times, I think, in the past. So it's going to be tough for these guys to get it. Jeff's right. I mean, when you look at the Colts, they allowed, 76 receptions or close to it last season to tight ends. Delaney Walker is arguably the number 1 in that offense. So if I choose between the two, it'd be Walker.
Ian?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet on anyone to score 2 touchdowns. I do lean towards Walker if we had to pick between these guys. But, man, just having 2 matchups with middle-of-the-field safeties that are this good, Harrison Smith, Malik Hooker. I mean, it's a problem for anyone trying to score on these guys at red zone. We saw it last week when Hooker had that great one-handed interception. So, I'd rather take my chances with someone like Vance McDonald or even Darren Waller, who at least could be on the field more against not-so-elite defenses.
He stayed freakishly stoic.
Mm-hmm. It was Friday the 13th. Things get freaky.
Did not move even that much.
Jeff, this one is just ridiculous right here. But Deshaun Watson is at plus 130 to throw for over 2.5 touchdowns against Jacksonville. I know. Are you on board with this? There's no way.
I don't know what to do with Jacksonville this week. They're sitting Cam Robinson. AJ Boy is out, and their secondary did not look good last week. I kind of like the plus money here, to be honest, to hit the over. Deshaun Watson's hit this in 8 of 16 regular season games last year. I know he didn't hit it at all against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but I'm a little worried about this defense with no AJ Boy. And
and Yannick Ngakoue.
Look, let's just say it like it is. Emerson, they did not look good week 1. Luckily, we got the constant Gardner who could still win us the shootout, but I'm going to take the over here with Deshaun Watson at plus 130.
Hey, the Pepsi Rookie of the Week in the NFL. That's massive. Yes, don't sleep on the stash. Reed, go ahead. What do you think about this?
I can't believe.
What?
Look, just admit it. Jacksonville is terrible. I'm going to say that I actually don't like Deshaun Watson to hit over 2 touchdowns. Because actually, I think Jacksonville's defense, their defensive line especially, gets to Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
The whole defense is predicated on the speed on that defensive line, and I think Josh Allen, not the quarterback, but the DN that we see, who played 75% of the snaps for Jacksonville in Week 1, I think has a real good shot to really come into the league with this game and really show his presence on why he was a first-round draft pick. And so I do like this. If you look at just last year for Deshaun Watson, he's every single game, he essentially had almost 2 touchdowns. I think it was 7 or 8. And then one game against Miami in Week 8, he had like 5 touchdowns. But he didn't eclipse 2 or 3 the entire season. So I'm going to say under in this one.
All right, Ian. I'm thinking Ramsey on Hopkins, right? So there's no way you're taking 130 for him to go over 2.5.
I'll take the over here. I mean, I just said, man, why not? But this Houston offense, when they're at full strength, has been, pretty much the number 2 or 3 in the league behind only KC and New England. They've averaged 30.6 points per game, and they've had Watson, Fuller, and Hopkins all together. It's only happened 12 times over the last 3 seasons. So it actually is rare that we see those 3 on the field at the same time. It's been special when they are. So, giving the over. Boye out, Yannick out. It's a depleted Jaguars defense, even if Ramsey remains a baller.
I got to tell you, I'm rooting passionately for this to happen, actually. As a season-long owner. 2 teams. I really want to see it happen. I'm sorry.
You want to see Deshaun go over?
Just go off, yeah.
I hope it never happens for you.
Appreciate that.
I hope your team loses every game the rest of the way.
We'll find out which way it goes. Nelson Aguilar is not only my best friend, he wears the number 13 and is a plus 475 to score TD for the Eagles against the Falcons. Have him on my team too. Sunday night, you like him to find the end zone here, Reed?
Everyone's on your team, Kaufman. I feel like you made these questions, but yes, I do like it. I do like it a lot. I also like Miles Sanders, my boy here. The team total, I got at 28, and if Miles Sanders gets in once, which I think he will, that leaves up 3 touchdowns, and I think Zach Ertz is going to have a tough time in this game. So yeah, I think Nelson Aguilar, even Arcega-Whiteside might have a good shot. These receivers, these skill players for Philadelphia, look, that second half, they really came back and they scored a bunch. And that speed of that offense and that defense, too, gives up a lot. That secondary in Philadelphia is pretty scary. So I do like Nelson Aguilar here.
Jeff, how do you feel about Aguilar?
I mean, at plus 475, I think I kind of like this to score a touchdown. I mean, Atlanta and Philly shaping up as kind of the shootout of the week. Really close point spread, 52-point game total. Atlanta defense obviously just looked terrible last week. They could improve a little bit, but it's not like they have a secondary that you should be scared of. Nelson Aguilar is still on the field for over 80% of the snaps. I think he actually led the Eagles wide receivers in snap counts. He doesn't get the targets from Carson Wentz, but really, you just need one in the red zone, and a plus 475. It's actually not a bad bet, in my opinion. So the volume wasn't there last week, but again, you just need one target in the red zone. Yeah.
Ian, Jeff's okay with things. Stuff's not a bad bet. Is this a good situation for Aguilar? How do you feel about plus 475?
This is actually my favorite bet that you guys gave us. I mean, of them at plus 475, because like Jeff said, he's been on the field. He was 80% snap rate last week, and I think everyone kind of figured we see Alshon, Djax, Goddard, and Ertz in their two tight end sets most of the time, but wasn't the case. Actually, Aguilar's still out there, gets to work out of the slot again. That's where he's been best during his career. And this Falcons defense, I mean, every single week we see people kind of post the same stat about how they allow the most receptions in the league, the running backs, and that's the case. But it's usually just those underneath targets in general that cover 3 defense really makes available. So Aguilar's gonna be running, in those underneath areas with Djax and company clearing out things deep. And yeah, I think he finds the end zone.
There you go. Aguilar plus 475. Ian likes the coin.
That's what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. And you can get plus 130 odds on the Redskins and Cowboys to score over 5.5 touchdowns combined.
Well, that seems easier.
Will this game be that high scoring, Reed?
I really want to.
Yeah, I know you do.
I got Washington only being able to score 2 touchdowns in this and Dallas scoring 3. So if my math is as good as Emerson's math, that is 5. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say under here. Washington does, in head-to-head matchups against Cowboys, they do better and they score more at home. They're averaging 20 points at home in the head-to-head matchups with the Cowboys. But I think that first week, it's a little bit too much to ask for them to do it back-to-back. And really, Dallas' defense, although they gave up some points to some players in fantasy, that defense is still pretty strong, and Washington's offense might regress a little bit this week, so I'm going to say under.
Okay, Jeff, where do you sit on this, man? If you're taking the over, it's got to be majority touchdowns by the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm not taking the over. Jay Gruden and his team settled for field goal. Jason Garrett isn't exactly the most aggressive coach either. So whenever you're betting on a touchdown total, you kind of want to look at how coaches might trend when they're in situations like 4th and 2 from the 10 or something like that, or do they understand grade 10 math? Again, the Redskins offense, I know like Terry McLaurin looked good and Vernon Davis had a touchdown, but I think the Cowboys road game, even if their offense even stalls a little bit, you're going to have trouble hitting this over. So I would definitely take the under here, 5.5 touchdowns.
Okay, how do you feel about this one, Ian?
5.5, a little too high. I got the under as well. But this Cowboys offense is going to score more than 3 touchdowns like Reed's thinking. Look, Redskins defense is banged up. Jonathan Allen, they're really good run stuff and defensive tackle. He's already out. And then their number 2 cornerbacks behind Josh Norman, Quentin Dunbar, and their slot corner, Fabian Moreau, they're also trending towards being out. So Josh Norman, I think we saw kind of last week when Djax left him in the dust. He's not really the same lockdown guy anymore, and they don't even have guys around him to really kind of pick up the slack. So I think the Cowboys kind of blow out the Redskins this game.
Clean sweep. All right, we need you 3 for NFL Chalk Report coming up in just a little bit. First, though, we're putting up our Bukes right after this.
Happy Friday. I'm Brendan Glasheen, and with this DraftKings Fantasy Flash, I'll be brutally honest. Cam Newton was bad Thursday night. Bad. Panthers are now 0-2 for the first time in 6 years, and Newton's lost 8 straight starts dating back to Week 9 of last year. How's that shoulder feeling, Cam? Had the surgery back in January, didn't throw most of the offseason, but it was business as usual in training camp. On throws of 15 yards downfield, Newton is 4 for 15, no touchdowns through 2 games this year. Thursday night against the Bucs, he was 0 for 10 under pressure and was sacked 3 times. Something isn't right. Leave it to Cam to be brutally honest as well. No matter what physical condition I'm in, no matter what foot, shoulder, I didn't get the job done, and it's frustrating. It's time for me to look myself in the mirror and do some real soul searching because I had opportunities tonight and I didn't get it done. Suddenly, Carolina's Week 3 contest at the Cardinals feels like a must-win.
What's up, guys? I'm Emerson Lotzia. This is my best friend. This is my dog, Rufus. I need you to watch the sweat this Sunday. Why? Because Rufus is going to pick the underdog parlay of the week. We're boosting odds. You're not going to want to miss it. Please, look how cute he is. All right, you going to be good?
Chalkiest games on the slate. The totals actually come down from the original open. Haven't tracked the line movement specifically this week, but sitting at 52, we have the Saints at Rams. And Adam, what are the news and notes here?
Yeah, I think both teams came out of their week one games healthy. We saw what the Rams wanted to do with Todd Gurley, and that was mix in Malcolm Brown a lot and not play Darrell Henderson very much. We saw Malcolm Brown play in the red zone inside the 5, but down the end, like fourth quarter, crunch time, it was more Gurley. People are going to be scared to play Todd Gurley. I mean, everybody sees the snap counts. They understand what the Rams are doing now. And then obviously the other issue with Monday night pricing was that DraftKings did not have a chance to adjust Alvin Kamara's price. So we have Alvin Kamara at 8,200. Would prefer this game to be in the Superdome, obviously, but it still sets up really well for a back and forth game where they really need him, just like a back and forth game where they really needed him against the Texans.
I mean, you're not going to find, this is not the house where I'm going to bring slander to Alvin Kamara. This is generational. This is a house where we stan Alvin Kamara. Any Alvins in the league, I am a fan. I'm in. I mean, he's amazing. What do you want me to tell you? You know,
generational.
Telling me he's generational.
I'll just say this. On his games where he has gotten at least 20 touches in his career, he's averaging 30.9 DraftKings points per game.
Perfect. Okay, so we have our Major League Baseball panel back. Oh, I'm just caught on the chair.
Yep, you're
Hold
good,
on.
right?
Yeah,
Let
I'm
me
fine.
help you there. You're good.
Our panel, by the way, Steve Buchanan, Greg Ehrenberg, they love each other. They never fight. They always get along.
And there's a reason their volume's down.
Yeah. But right now, this segment, put up your pukes! Dang! That gets me every time how jacked Steve is.
Just totally fair representation of him.
So yes, it is. You give us 3 picks with their point projections, right? And then Greg is likely going to debate you on them.
He's going to call you an idiot is what's going to happen because you're usually aiming kind of high. Yes. But Bukes, we're already talking too much, pal. We'll sit back. It's your segment. Go ahead. Who's the first buck?
Yeah, Kaufman talking too much. That's something I've never heard before. We talked about it already enough in the first segment, but I'm going with Jeff Hoffman here for 7 DK fantasy points. So I'll give Greg a head start here. He's not been good. Like, you look at his numbers, 427 WAR, 4.91 xFIP at Coors Field this season. But then we look at some of the other stuff. He only has a 32% hard hit rate at Coors Field this season. He's got some decent strikeout upside, 23.3%. And then we go and look at what the Padres have done. And I'm putting done in quotation marks because we got about a zillion graphics going on right now. Hoffman over Bukes, whatever. It all looks good because you guys have worked hard on it. But here's what the Padres have done so far in the month of September. One of Greg's favorite stats, a 79 WRC+. If you don't know what that means, let me just tell you what it means. It sucks. 115 isolated power. They're absolutely not hitting for power, and they're striking out a ton. We just saw Hoffman face them in his last start at Petco Field. They were awful. Hoffman was great. Hoffman's going to do good tonight. But here comes Greg with his little spiel that he's been practicing in the mirror for the past 4 hours because he's so hyped to go in on it. Go ahead, Greggy.
First off, I wasn't able to practice for 4 hours because you turned in all your picks late. You did this like 15 minutes before the show started, so that was a whole other issue. I had to send you emails just to get the information from you. But here's the other thing. Hoffman has not only been bad this year in the major leagues, he was so bad they sent him down to the minor leagues, and he had a 7.7 ERA in AAA. So it's not just that the Padres have been not great this year, which is true, but he can't get out minor league hitters, so I have no reason to think that he can get out even bad major league hitters. The other thing to also consider with Hoffman is he's not only been bad this season. Last season, the most fantasy points he scored in a start all year was 6.25. Then we go back to 2 seasons ago, past the All-Star break. He had just as many starts with negative fantasy points as he had with positive fantasy points. So I'm not just looking at Hoffman saying, like, oh, he's been unlucky, he should have some regression. He's been bad his entire career. There's no reason to think that it's going to turn around all of a sudden.
Let me tell you what it is. It sucks.
I respect the honesty.
Buke 2, sir?
I don't know about you, but I thought that was great analysis and a great segment. So you can talk all the trash about it you want. We're going to go with Avisail Garcia here.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, wait, before we start, you know what none of us want to see is just Emerson and Kaufman going back and forth about Emerson's equipment not working and whatever nonsense it is that Kaufman has to say. So Steve and I are on the same page with this one, at least.
What are you talking about?
I don't think it's nonsense.
It's not nonsense at all.
Two people having a
It's my
conversation,
IFB
no
on-
different
cut
than
on-
you.
Cut on the chair. I got to move around.
Sometimes we just want to talk about some stuff.
Go ahead.
You know who's having a great time during this segment? I wish we could get a shot of Ian. He's like loving this segment. I can see him. Garcia, 16 DK fantasy points. He's just been absolutely awesome against lefties. Last year, like Greg kept talking about, we kept doing all those last year's chapters with Hoffman, and including this year, 329 Wilbur, 229 isolated power against lefties on the road. Quickly has a 235 isolated power in the month of September. They're batting him leadoff tonight, which is something new that they've been kind of implementing, probably because the lefty is on the mound tonight. So I would rather him in the cleanup spot, but you know what? If we're going to get a couple extra at bats at him in the leadoff spot, you know, beggars can't be choosers here. So I like Garcia here for 16 DK fantasy points.
Greggy?
I'm so disappointed with Steve's just math abilities there and just understanding how the lineup works. Because you bat leadoff, there's no way you get 2 extra at-bats out of it. Like, oh, he's batting leadoff. Look at all the extra at-bats he's getting. Like, maybe he gets 1 extra at-bat at the end of the game. There's no way that leads to multiple extra at-bats.
They're going to score so many runs, so that's why.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's the issue also.
Still
it's not a
just
good
the
matchup
one,
for him.
though.
Andrew Heaney's been really good this year. He's been really good in the second half of the season in particular. And Avisail Garcia has been better against left-handed pitching in previous seasons. Not been the case this year. This year he's actually been better against right-handed pitching than he has been against left-handed pitching. Also, overall, he hasn't been very good on the road. 82 WRC plus away from Tampa Bay. It's a tough matchup. I just think there's better places you could go, and it's very unlikely to me that he scores 16 DK fantasy points, 8 or less DK fantasy points in 7 of his last 9 games.
Steve, I believe you had a third Buke, right? But he is no longer in the lineup. Is that the case?
Yeah, so the White Sox decided not to put Castillo in the lineup tonight, which makes absolutely no sense because...
because he's terrible.
No, because Kikuchi is terrible. The pitcher who's facing Kikuchi, he gives up a home run like every 2 batters. Like, I'm not sure if that's the correct math, but at least that's what it feels like. And he gives up the most home runs at home. You know, at T-Mobile Park, you'd think a huge ballpark would help his cause, but it actually is worse for him. So Castillo...
He picked a guy who isn't playing tonight. Don't try to justify it. He's not in the lineup. He's terrible. He plays like once a week. That's why he's not in the lineup.
How many times are you on the show a week? Like once? Like, calm down with your seniority over here, okay? It was a great pick. It would have made people a lot of money, and I'm going to tell them not to invite you back anymore.
I like you, Greg.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Emerson.
All right.
No, I like you too.
Kaufman, pick a side.
I'd like a slate-approved pick, please, Greg.
All right, fair enough. So I like Max Scherzer a lot tonight at home. His price is down relative to what it typically is this season, and the reason is because he was injured, spent a little bit of time on the IL, but now he's back. He's at full strength, 9 strikeouts in his last start, scored over 30 DK fantasy points. So I think this is really the last chance to buy low on Scherzer. I think he's going to be the NL Cy Young this season.
Bukes?
Yeah, but Greg, what did he do like 4 seasons ago? Like you've been talking about all segment. Anyways,
He was also a Cy Young candidate.
Quiet. It's Luis Castillo against the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks have really been reeling on offense as of late. I think Castillo's going to go overlooked because he's in the same price range as like Scherzer and others. So I think Castillo's the way to go.
I asked Ulrich to pick a side for me. He said he doesn't hate either of you.
Okay, thanks.
All right, guys, we're doing, you two are free to go. Go hang out or whatever you do here on a Friday
continue
night.
this conversation off the air.
We have
as you will.
NFL Chalk Report coming up with Reed, Jeff, and Ian to wrap up the show right after your Francesa Friday conversation.
I
with
like to think it's all of
Francesa.
our Francesa Fridays, really. And may you have one as well. It's a Francesa Friday. Mike Francesa, WFAN in New York. And Mike, good to see you again always. We're going to do a lot of football, but let's start with some baseball, especially in your neck of the woods there in NY. Luis Severino, he's back. He's going to make his first start of the season Tuesday after being out since last year's division series, that rotator cuff inflammation, also a lat strain, and that was after a terrific regular season for him. Yankees manager Aaron Boone believes he could be a game changer for the World Series hopefuls. What do you think?
You know, I think right now he's looking to be the third starter. I think Tanaka's their one. I think that the way Paxton has pitched, he's clearly their 2. He's 7-0 in his last 7 starts. His whip's under 1. He struck out 52 batters in his last 40 innings. He's been really dominant. He can be very, very good when he's good. I think you're talking about who pitches the third game and whether they are willing to go with him in the fourth game. Emerson has gotten a little tired of late. His numbers aren't as good. I think Severino could be the game 3 starter. And I think then Herman could be the 4th starter. I think that's what you're looking at. I don't think Happ will get a start, especially against the Astros. I don't think CC will get a start, especially against the Astros because they kill lefties. I think that Severino could be a big pick-me-up. But right now, more important has been that Paxton has been dominant finally. They needed that. They've been waiting for that. And that gives them the 1-2 punch with Tanaka because they'll have the best bullpen. But they needed to elevate the starters, especially if they meet Houston like we all expect. Because Houston's 1-2-3 is so dominant that they need Paxton to be good, and he's been good lately.
Yankees don't have to worry about a playoff spot, obviously, but the American League wild card, that's a 3-team race for 2 spots. You got the Rays, the A's, the Indians, they're all in the mix. But in the National League, awfully crowded down the stretch here. Only a couple weeks to go, 6 clubs in striking distance. So if you had to guess right now, who do you expect to emerge?
Washington's in. I think the Cubs get in. Milwaukee's played very well of late, but I think the loss of Yelich will start to take its toll. They both have to play the Cardinals, which is going to be key. Everyone's watching the Mets, and give the Mets credit because, where they were late for dead after the 6-game losing streak, they bounced back. They completely destroyed Arizona. They got to keep winning. Now, a big key for the Mets is this weekend they're going to get the Dodgers' best pitchers right in a row. The question is, and I can see the Dodgers being motivated coming to New York, big crowds, everything else. So this is a weekend where they can't let the Dodgers knock them out of the race. But right now, the Mets are trying to hang in. But I think right now it'll be Washington and Chicago.
Mike, I know you're not a World Cup basketball guy. Quite frankly, most people aren't. But the United States men's basketball team, it went out, just embarrassed the country with its worst ever major tourney finish. Now, again, World Cup, not the Olympics. It's a very different stage there with FIBA. But the Americans, they didn't have any superstars on the roster either. So you have to consider that. Even still, how big an issue should NBA fans have seeing the top-ranked team in the world, the 3-time defending tournament champs, finish 7th or 8th?
See, this is what happens every time. This is what happened, and this was what started the Dream Team. We started to send inferior teams, and then we get our backup and say, wait a second, we are basketball. So then we get together and we get all the best players on one team and beat everybody by 70 points. The bottom line is there's no middle ground with the American team. The USA team is either going to beat you by 40 or they're going to send an inferior team. If they send a team that has stars on it, nobody can play them. So the bottom line is there's no there. There's either the big team or who cares? When they don't send the big team, you got to get what you're going to get. That's all there is to it. But what the reaction will probably be is next time we send a big team and kill everybody.
Your guy, Sam Darnold, Jets QB, is out indefinitely with mono. I know you kind of have to shake your head at this.
His number was 14. I didn't realize he was 14. Kids get 14. Mono's a 14-year-old disease. I mean, you think about teenagers getting mono. Not NFL quarterbacks, but in all seriousness.
Yeah.
You laugh about it because it's mono, and you think about somebody, with pimples getting mono.
Right.
But the thing is, mono is a very dangerous malady for an NFL player. Number one, you lose weight quickly. Number two, you cannot get hit when you have your spleen infected in any way because it's like. So I think you're talking about a month before he's back on the field. This is not going to mean 1 week for the Jets. This means if they don't beat the Browns, and I don't think they will with a backup quarterback and lousy corners, I think even the Browns can win that game. Then comes Pats on the road, Eagles on the road, Dallas Cowboys, Pats again, Jacksonville, nightmare, goodbye to season. This is a big problem now.
Nailed that. Nailed it.
Yeah, all you.
Last block of the show, dudes. It is
8
NFL,
minutes till we get out of here.
NFL Chalk Report. Okay, so we do have our NFL panel here since we are talking about the NFL. It's Reed Fowler, Jeff Ulrich, and Ian Harditz.
Yes.
Good to see you guys. So which player do you think will be chalk at the following positions? You want to start?
Yeah, quarterback.
There you go.
Thanks. All right, what do you say, Jeff?
Yeah, it'll be Lamar Jackson. I mean, this one's pretty obvious. Obviously, he's the guy everyone's talking about. Everyone's worried about the passing in the offseason. And he comes back first game as a perfect passer rating. regardless of what you think about the Dolphins, it's pretty impressive. Haven't even seen his rushing upside yet. Now he's going against the team with the fastest pace in the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals. I think it's going to be a closer game than people think, but it's still a really good upside spot for Lamar Jackson. He's definitely going to be chalky. Doesn't mean you can't play him because quarterbacks, even when they are chalky, they don't get that high in ownership. But definitely going to be highly owned this week.
Got to pay up for him, obviously. I think the second most expensive QB on the slate, if I remember right. What do you say, Reed? Is he the guy?
Yeah, he's the guy. I think number 2 would be Josh Allen. When you look at his matchup against the Giants and what Dak did against the Giants, you're going to attack that game as much as possible. Josh Allen, not necessarily the same passer as Dak Prescott, but a lot like Lamar Jackson. This guy can run. If you just look back when he was healthy, all the way back to I think week 12 or 13, this guy has a safe floor when he rushes, about 7 attempts. I think a little under 80 yards rushing, and then he also has the red zone attempts when he's rushing as well. So Josh Allen, that prime matchup, and he's going to be cheaper.
We finding another mobile quarterback here, Ian?
No, I think these guys hit the nail on the head, but we can pivot to more mobile quarterbacks. I mean, Deshaun Watson's right in that same price range, but Lamar Jackson against a Jaguars defense that we talked about at the moment. And then from Josh Allen, I mean, go up $100 and roll a dice with Kyler Murray. I know going to Baltimore isn't great. Cardinals offense hasn't looked all that good, but, I'm also not willing to say the Ravens are just in this extra class above the rest of the league after throttling this Miami team that just doesn't even want to play football this season. So it's going to be much lower ownership on those guys. They can still rack up points with their legs like the chalkier Lamar and Josh.
Reed, who's going to be the chalk at running back?
I think it's going to be Austin Eckler. Look what he did against the Colts week 1. We thought this was going to be potentially a little bit more split backfield, but Austin Eckler is still getting the majority of the snaps, and he absolutely obliterated that Colts defense. And now he gets to go up against the Lions, who, again, are better with their defensive line. But I think that just helps Austin Eckler in terms of what he's going to be able to do. And I just think when you look at that production, probably going to get more snaps than he did last week in a prime spot. There's going to be other guys that these gentlemen are going to talk about that are potentially going to be a little bit chalkier, but he's a safe play. He's a top 10 running back for the rest of the season as long as Melvin Gordon is out.
Ian, chalk in the backfield.
It's going to be Josh Jacobs at 4,700. I mean, anytime you can get a running back under 5K that had 23 carries the week before, you got to take a long, hard look at it. And it's just because, the price comes out before Monday Night Football. So that's why we're seeing these Raiders kind of have these messed up salaries this week. But it's interesting because that game went so perfect for the Raiders for them to get up on Denver right out of the gate. We don't know if Jacobs is going to be the whole time, 3 down back and, give out no reps to Jalen Richard, if they happen to get behind on the scoreboard. So it's a great spot for him to be that cheap and kind of have that 15-plus touches secured. But I could see it going wrong if the Chiefs get up like a lot of people think they will. Possible pivots from there is Philip Lindsay and Duke Johnson, who will be getting those receptions.
All right, Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely Raiders chalky. We didn't even mention Derek Carr, who had 5,400. Is probably going to be another low-salary quarterback going up against the Chiefs, who will be popular. But the other guy I wanted to target here is Alvin Kamara. He's the third most expensive, but I feel like a lot of people are just going to take that discount off of Saquon Barkley and Ezekiel Elliott. Obviously, Barkley, people don't trust the Giants' offense. And the New Orleans Saints, obviously going up against the Rams. The Rams gave up so many yards and 2 touchdowns to Christian McCaffrey. I feel like people are just going to look at this spot and say, Kamara's probably going to get equal ownership. Why not just take the discount? So I do feel like among the higher price backs, Kamara might get up there in ownership.
How about a chalky wideout, Jeff? Let's go right back to you.
Yeah, who did I have? Oh, yeah, John Ross. So, again, I saved the Raiders for the other guys because I'm nice. But John Ross, obviously coming off like a double-digit target performance, had just a massive game. I mean, I think most people expected him to get a few targets as the number 2 wide receiver with A.J. Green out. I don't think anyone expected him to go completely banana in his first game in this new offense. His price really didn't go up, which is kind of surprising. So I guess DraftKings feels like this maybe just been a one-time thing. But, the matchup isn't that bad. I mean, San Francisco's got a decent pass rush. They have a good front seven we've talked about. But their secondary still some concerns, aging Richard Sherman. So I feel like John Ross still going to be a popular target this week.
Ian, it was obviously a sought-after guy on the waiver wire. A lot of people added this guy. So can he repeat? Do you have a different guy? What do you think?
I think Tyrell Williams is going to be being pretty high owned here, just with, again, number 1 receiver at only 4,400. I think he is. I see why you're taking a chance on him because Tyrell's a baller. Only Gronk, Tyreek, Julio, and Tyler Lockett have averaged more yards per target than Tyrell Williams since he entered the league in 2015. So, good on him. And we saw Derek Carr throw a pretty deep ball down the field that Tyrell came down with it. Problem is, I mean, I think it was just 1 week kind of from this Raiders passing offense that we're going to see them look that good. I'm not really going to be going back to bank with the Raiders that much. Go down $100 and you can get DK Metcalf, who we already see is Russell Wilson's downfield threat, facing a Steelers defense where they got banged up Joe Hayden on the outside. They'll be paying a lot of attention to Tyler Lockett in the slot. Maybe they won't because they're Steelers and they seem to not care about slot receivers. But yeah, so I think Tyrell will be chalky, but I'm going to stay away from him.
Reed, who stands out to you?
Yeah, it's sort of in the same sentiment as Sammy Watkins. No, it's going to be chalk. I don't think it's really good chalk, to be quite honest. You have Julio Jones, a couple $100 or $100 more expensive in that Philadelphia secondary, who I think is just going to absolutely mash this weekend. Then you have Julian Edelman, that a few $100 cheaper. So Sammy Watkins, bad chalk, but he gets Oakland.
How much time we have left back there, Tom? About a minute left.
Yeah, time for a tight end.
Just real quick, Reed, chalky tight end.
Evan Ingram's going to get 4,000 targets because everyone else is hurt. So Evan Ingram.
Okay, Jeffrey, what do you think?
I mean, it's going to be Darren Waller week. I had down Burton Davis as possibly getting ownership, but it's going to be Darren Waller. He's going to be super chalky this week.
And bring us home, baby.
Baby Gronk, TJ Hawkinson, people are losing their mind. Whatever.
Baby Gronk.
Baby Gronk, yeah.
Gotta live up to
Reed,
that, man.
Reed really liked that guy.
Baby
Reed thought that TJ should have been the rookie of the week over Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, because they have
things to
What a terrible take, hey, Emerson?
stress over in week 1.
Yeah, Reed just doesn't believe,
Rookie of the week. All right, thanks for joining us here throughout the week, and especially here on this Friday, of course. Monday through Friday, the Sweat's with you 6 o'clock Eastern each and every night. You can find us all over the place, Facebook, Periscope,
we're
Twitter,
back,
everywhere.
So we're back on Sunday.
Yeah.
We're back on Sunday
Week
at
2 action.
11:30 to 1. If you're in New York, we'll be on SNY from 11 to 11:30.
You don't want to miss that. Hey, have a great weekend. This is fun.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Party on, Wayne.